It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday, so let's not. Let's talk about Legion one more time. We're going to break down the Legion series finale with the entire panel from the AfterBuzz TV Legion After Show and Xia Anderson, whoever that is. The Marvel TV Weekly starts now.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, welcome to Marvel TV Weekly, which looks suspiciously like the Legion After Show panel. I'm Christian Bladt, joined, as always, by Xia, the lovely and talented Xia Anderson.
I'm still saving these, you know.
As we talked about last week.
You're nice to me sometimes.
Don't get used to it. As we mentioned last week, you and I met on the Legion After Show.
Yeah, we did.
And I bullied you into joining this show.
And it's a full year, a year later. A year later.
And
here I am. Hello.
Every week we hate each other a little bit more.
Just a little bit.
But next up is, of course, the wonderful Alana Jordan.
Hey, that's me.
And over on the couch, we have David's Angels. We have Alexa.
Yes, we do.
Alexa, happy Cappielo.
Yes, happy Cappy. Happily on the couch right now, Cappy.
And due to framing, you guys had to sit right next to each other, which is amazing.
We chose this life.
Jeff Williams Jr., I think is important to say. Not to be confused with Ray Parker Jr.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say my dad, but that works too.
Wait, is your dad here? We could get one more on the couch.
Nah, we're good.
Anyway, so much to talk about, but mostly Legion, in all honesty.
Legion.
What's that?
A lot of Legion.
There's a lot of Legion. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
We are Legion.
Yes.
We are talking Legion.
We have all gotten to talk about what we thought about the Legion finale, and if you didn't watch the Legion After Show, you probably don't need to because we're going to kind of just say all the same things. No, we're going to rehash a little bit more. But Xia, I would like, mostly out of curiosity, I would like to know just your overall thoughts on the episode, the series finale, and how you feel it did as a punctuation mark on the end of the series.
It was interesting. I liked it. I found myself through a lot of parts in the show or in the episode being like, oh my god, I really love this show, and there are so many reasons in this episode why I love this show. But it was kind of anticlimactic as far as a finale goes. It's not what I was expecting, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing yet. I'm honestly still thinking about it. I didn't see it going that way. The way that it went with Farouk, it was not.
I definitely didn't.
Yeah, it was not at all what I was thinking.
I think none of us saw it going that way, right?
No.
You guys way over on the couch down the street.
We thought there was going to be a fight, not a toast, and then let's talk about our feelings and emotions, and then let's sing about it for a little bit.
Well, that makes one of us that enjoyed the musical part.
So I actually wrote in my notes here that I hate, if anyone that knows me knows that I hate musicals. Hate them all. I will not watch musicals. I haven't seen any of the Disney live action remakes because there's so much singing.
They're crap.
But have you seen
Thank you.
But have you seen the
heard.
cartoons that have all the singing in it?
They do, but I saw them when I was a
King.
child, and then I got to a certain age, probably my emo teenage phase, and was like, this sucks, and I just never grew out of it. That's what happened.
But you know what? You suck. But anyway.
That's when you just listen to Green Day, the musical. There's a musical for every phase.
By the way,
that's great.
This is completely not on topic, but you would definitely love Book of Mormon. I have no doubt.
I did see Book of Mormon, and I did like it.
Yeah, okay.
So
great.
I was saying that I don't like musicals. Book of Mormon's fine because it's hilarious. But I enjoy the music scenes in this show so much. I mean, partly because it's like every single one is Pink Floyd, so I can't hate it. So to that, for that, it's awesome. So I actually really enjoyed that, and I think that I don't know how because I haven't done the show with you. How'd you feel about the rap battle?
It was entertaining. It was fun. It was light. But I want more action. I enjoyed that one more than the season finale song.
Okay, gotcha.
Just because it was entertaining, it was light, it wasn't long, it wasn't a whole song. We got the whole song in the season finale.
And also, by the way, that episode with the rap battle, Elena also liked that episode. Xia liked that episode. And you're the only people I know who liked the episode. So that's why you have to be seated next to each other.
Nice.
Happy Cappy.
We'll have a rap battle later where we battle you guys and tell you why you're wrong.
Oh, imagine if we had planned for that.
That would be awesome.
What were you going to say, Happy Cappy?
Well, I was just going to say they represent the Carries right now.
Yeah.
They're 1 or 2.
But They're both young Carrie.
But we're both young
right.
Carrie.
Yeah.
Young girl Carries.
Young, spry.
All right.
Carrie.
And I'm old Carrie. I get it. That's fine.
Well, yeah.
I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
We're all vermilion, let's be honest.
Kind of like tying on to what Xia said, though, about Pink Floyd. I'm not a huge fan of it only because I just haven't heard a lot. I mean, I think I have heard their music, but it just has never like 100% clicked with me. But I did love how they tied in Pink Floyd to David's story. Like, that is some artistry right there.
Well,
I thought it was amazing how they were able to put each song to like the exact right moment in the show.
And the lyrics to Mother, which was the song in the series finale, it fits so well. And as we talked about on the Legion After show, to the extent, Alexa, you actually thought that was an original song. You just didn't know the song.
I didn't know the song. I was like, oh, I guess this works well, I guess, in this moment. I guess they wrote it for, and they were like, no, it's Pink Floyd.
Yeah, it is like, that's cool. Look, it's not a hit. It, however, is on, like, I don't know, the number 2 best-selling record of all time, but that's besides the point. But I think it's interesting that it fits so well, because you just would have thought, like, well, obviously this song wouldn't have existed because it speaks so much to it. But the Pink Floyd just sort of overtones throughout the series is the sort of thing that always had me feeling what I've talked about many times on this show, the Legion After Show, and also on Marvel Movie News. I'll talk about it anywhere. I'll talk about it when the camera's not on, about what I didn't want this finale to be. David, back in the pilot, sitting there in the mental hospital, and it was all in his head the whole time.
Okay, they didn't do that.
No, they didn't.
Thank God.
Thank God they didn't. But with her name being Sid Barrett and having a lot of the you're saying that they did kind of close to it.
No, it wasn't as bad as what you would say, but it was still like
it at least happened. But then this was like but then it got a hard reset. You know, it's like.
But when they wake up and live their new life, it's within a snow globe. They just didn't tell you that part. So.
Which is something I'm also.
I honestly think that if you
himself.
introduce time travel into anything, there's a large chance that it's not going to go anywhere good. You know what I mean? I just feel like time travel doesn't. It's just a very hard concept.
You are not going to enjoy Avengers Endgame whenever you see it, by the way.
I feel like I also can't say anything because one of my favorite shows in the world is all time travel, Doctor Who.
It's Doctor Who, but
I love time travel.
I didn't say that every single instance with time travel is bad. Back to the Future is one of my favorite series of all time, and it revolves around time. But I feel like
and how you gotta go back in time.
I thought it was about a love for a mall that changes.
Yeah, basically that's it. A mother's love. No, but it's just like hit or miss with time.
But so here's Back to the Future, Doctor Who. Those are both things that day one you're dealing with time travel. When time travel is added in a little bit later, Avengers Endgame. And yes, I'm mostly saying this to annoy Ryan in the booth, but it's true. Lost. When you start dealing with time travel, and it's like, but you didn't think out your time travel.
Yep.
And I think Avengers Endgame, the time travel is infuriating.
Yeah, a little bit.
And as we don't need to explain what Marvel movies Alexa has seen, because the last time she was on the show, we did.
I made a few enemies.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
They did not like.
I like the originals.
Yeah, she likes the first one.
Yeah.
And then she's like, yeah, I'm good. You know?
No, it's just I don't know. It just kind of lost its steam for me.
You're like, they avenged some stuff. I don't need to see them continue to avenge.
I got a little burnt out on the superheroes.
It's 23 movies. Like, so if when the first Iron Man came out, it was like, so everybody, you're going to see it. Just so you know, there's going to be 22 more that you have to see after this. I think some people would have been like, oh, then forget it. I'm just, I'm just not.
No, I don't think so. I think people would just be like, no, I just won't see those then. And then I'll see some of the ones that I feel like.
My wife still hasn't seen Doctor Strange because she's like, I get it.
I mean,
she saw him in other movies.
My friends have already made me go back and like watch all of them twice. Like, and after having already seen them when they come out, like marathoning them.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I just don't recommend, because eventually by the end of it, you're like, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
My friends recommended that I
This is too many hours of the same thing.
Your friends
I'm going
recommended
crazy.
that I don't watch Doctor Strange. They were like, it's
what?
terrible.
What?
No, I really
Doctor
Strange is not
Most of my
terrible.
friends
To be
have
fair,
said don't
totally
watch
disagree.
Doctor
He's
Strange.
better.
I gotta disagree with that.
I love
Really?
Doctor
He's
Strange.
better. No. He's better in Ragnarok and the Avengers movies than he is in his own movie.
I agree with that.
I do like his
true.
movie.
I
still
but
like his movie.
They have the character figured out. And by the way, his American accent drives me so crazy. I don't know why he's not
like
British.
half American
Just let him be
accent.
British. There's no reason for him
it's
to be
true.
American.
His name is Doctor Strange. You want to hear it in the British dialect. You just do.
I say let's give Doctor Strange a hand. Sorry.
Oh, because he can't be a surgeon anymore.
Oh, wow.
That was a really sad pun.
Hey, spoiler, he's in a car accident. You ruined the whole movie.
I didn't even say that. It was a very subtle pun that no one got, and it went over great. So it went over like a Led Zeppelin.
It was a little shaky.
Listen to our guy in the
Right in the boob.
That Led Zeppelin joke was brilliant. You're welcome. Tying it back into Legion soundtracks.
Out of all the origin
Because
movies,
it's also a British band from the 60s? How exactly?
They had Led Zeppelin in the first season.
Did they?
Yes, they've had a lot of different...
Led Zeppelin is very expensive. That's why you heard Immigrant Song twice in Thor Ragnarok, because they had to spend so much. It's like, well, we're playing it twice. Jeff, what were you going to say?
Maybe they did.
I mean,
maybe I was
out of
wrong.
all the origin movies, there's a lot that you can skip. Like, you can get Thor 1.
See?
Are you trying to skip Thor 1?
Yes.
No! Natalie Portman, get out of here.
So like I was saying,
Thor 1's better than Thor 2.
How are you going to understand Thor 4 more Thor?
I understand Thor 1 was better than Thor 2, but Thor 2, we're talking like we're lowering our standards.
Zia loves Thor 2.
That's unfortunate.
The Dark World.
And then we got
standards. I like
all right,
it.
we're all talking over Jeff. Let's let Jeff actually have his piece.
But there's some better origin, or there's some worse origin stories. I feel like for Doctor Strange, he's a dynamic character. There's visuals you got to see for that movie. I would not recommend skipping that, especially after seeing Avengers. You get to see some of his powers, but like the whole thing, Doctor Strange is definitely not one that I would skip over.
Doctor Strange is on Netflix too, so it's like just watch it. It's
for
like
now.
just have it on in the background, right? Where you can watch it now. Just watch it. It's easy peasy. Have it on.
Especially
Except for. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil anything for you. There is something
She's like not going to see it though, so
That's not true.
Well, you learned something in freaking in Doctor Strange that you're like, why don't you apply this later on? This is infuriating.
Yeah.
And I think we all know what I'm talking about.
Not Alexa.
Portals, arms. This is vague enough that people who understand will go, yeah, but Alexa's like, these are just nouns.
No, I caught up to Endgame. I just have to watch.
So that's all right.
I'm sorry.
Well, that is the end. Endgame is the end.
I'm sorry. I caught up to Infinity War. I still have to watch Endgame.
Right.
Excuse me.
You'll have to take a day off work to see the whole movie. It's not short.
It is quite a long film.
But anyway,
time travel. And also music.
There's so much more to talk about in terms of the Legion series finale. But first, Xia Anderson has this important message.
I do. Hey guys, I don't like the way you're staring at me. This is so weird. Before we move on to our next topic, we just want to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. But for us to continue to grow, we could use your help. Basically, you just have to hit a bunch of buttons. It's super easy. Like, you're already watching the show. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. 1 through 4 doesn't work, so don't even worry about it. Just don't hit those ones. So, yeah, do all the button hitting. It's
yeah.
There's one.
Yeah, look, see right there, button. It's super easy. So seriously, thank you for supporting us and doing what we love, because the fact that we get to come here and like yammer on about Marvel stuff, I couldn't do this to anyone else because they get really annoyed. So I have to come and do it here with all of you guys for all of you.
Like,
so
if you tried to have these conversations with your husband, he would push you out a window probably. Right?
Actually, you know what? I do have these conversations with him. That's why I married him, let's be honest.
So that's probably why he wears headphones a lot, just because he's like,
He's just nodding along, and I'm just like, and that ending, like, oh my God. And he's like, yeah, totally.
So were there specific things, Xia, about the Legion series finale that just flat out like, no, that did not work for me? Or was it just more of a general, like, no, And by the way, people in the comments for the final episode of the after show thought that us saying, we collectively said we all wanted more, we all wanted something. Wanting something more is not an opinion. I'm like, well, it's the opinion we have, idiot.
Wow!
Same exact comment.
Christian's opinion is that you're stupid.
Yeah.
So immediately after being like, please give us your comments, but don't let them be stupid. Or
If they're stupid,
if
they're stupid, I don't want your 5-star rating. What were you going to say, Jeff?
No, I read
please give us 5 stars.
And I was like, I mean, us saying we want more is saying something. It's like, it's not like we're saying something negative. We want more.
We explained why we wanted more and what we thought we would get.
It's like he probably saw the first 30 seconds. It's like, oh, they just want more.
I think that this show has attracted a certain kind of audience in it, and then they all read very deep, like in between the lines. The viewership here is just it's you're either cerebral and can understand this kind of thing, or you're like, what did I just watch? And if you're like, what did I just watch, you have long gone off the train by now.
Well,
if you're expecting X-Men, like the 90s cartoon.
Or the 70s comic book like I'm wearing.
Boom.
Yeah, you're not going to get that.
You're not.
And that was another comment. It's like, well, just because it wasn't just like the comic books doesn't mean it wasn't good. No,
it doesn't have anything to do with that.
Doesn't mean that. It just also wasn't what we wanted. I think even if it ended in the same way, but after a big fight, I would have been like, perfect. That would have been great.
I wanted a battle.
When you think X-Men, you think battles. We just didn't really ever get a battle.
I wanted 12 episodes. I wanted a dozen episodes. I wanted, like, if we're going to have, like, you guys hated the tangent with the
No, but if we had 4 more episodes, I would have been okay with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, I agree with you guys so much. We were talking about this last time.
If you think we're right, then continue.
Like, all I wanted, I was like, I need more. I needed a battle. Like, we were talking about this on the last episode. We were watching it. I got a song. I got some hugs at the end. I got so much crap that I didn't want. and this is coming from a person that loves the show, that wanted the action. I wanted to see David go full on villain because that's how they led him up to be. Don't give me this crap at the end. Switcheroo, hug from my dad. I'm a nice guy now. And then Farouk, switcheroo, my old self told me to be nice. So guess what? I'm gonna be nice. No, don't sell me on that. I was disappointed.
It just happened so quickly too. Like the second to last episode leaves off with like, oh snap, David thinks that he's got advantage because he's got dad in his corner, but oh psych, there's 2 Farouks, and now like it's gonna be 2-on-2. This battle's gonna be crazy. Cut to credits, and then it's like, oh hey, battle's on, except for nah man, let's not. We got tea and beer, and we'll just chit chat
Young
immediately.
Farouk and Charlie are just gonna basically tailgate. That's all they're going to do.
And they just let you know, like, there was no, like, oh, is there any sort of anxiety? Like, will there be a battle later on? Is there any tension? And he's like, nah, we're all cool.
We're good, man.
I mean,
sorry, go ahead, Tia.
No, I was just going to say, the show does such a great job through the last 3 seasons of balancing the action and the violence with the cerebral part of the show, and I think that they just didn't quite do that in this last episode. I actually don't hate what they did with Farouk. I don't. It's not what I saw coming. It was a departure from not only the comic book character, but in the cartoon as well. Like, that's just not at all what I was expecting. So I did not hate that. I just agree with you guys. I think they could have done something more with it. They could have made, even if it was more of a visual battle as opposed to it being like very violent. You could have done something with that. Like, there was that point, and it was this, I think it was season 1 or season 2, where they had that fight. It was all the colors, and it was very comic. That was so cool. They could have given us something along those lines, but it was just kind of.
I would have been here for it.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Alexa?
I also really wanted more of an altercation or something between Charles Xavier and David. I wanted that to come to a hilt. Like, I wanted the dad thing. I'm mulling about his dad. The whole show and how his dad left him, and then what? He just gets a hug from his dad and everything's okay and he's a good person now and it's fine. I just wanted something there. I think what I wanted to happen was David and Xavier go in to try to fight Farouk's plural, and then maybe Xavier turns on David, which causes David to just have this like Legion meltdown where we finally see like the extent of his power, because I don't think we ever really saw him like hit his whoa, like, oh my god, he is an Omega level
we never saw
mutant. This guy is a threat.
He's almost as powerful as Iceman, believe it or not.
It did seem though like it was just hyped up, like it was going to be this big thing, and it was just so cuddly. Like, it seemed like they were like, get ready for like epic myth battle. They're like, psych, we actually took Molly. We're just going to like
It's almost like before episode 8, like before the first day of shooting, the studio came over and was like, so listen, you guys burned through the whole budget for the season, so we can't do any effects.
Aubrey Plaza's out. She's really dead. We can't bring her back. We can't afford it.
If we
They had
did
to
the
use one
exact same ending.
pre-recorded sound pen at the end just so you
That's
can
true.
remember that she was here.
No, it was like a clip of her from Parks and Rec. You know, it wasn't even from the
it
show.
was her like asking Andy for help, and they were like, "Oh,
Star-Lord. But it was basically, I think if we'd had a moment where like everybody's like, oh, Farouk, you're a good guy now. All right, everybody. And if we'd seen like, I don't know, like the angry boy behind him sort of like lurking in the shadows, or maybe like one of those very knowing like evil eyes or something where it's like, oh yeah, no, he's just messing with them. Because that's what I was expecting the whole episode. And then when we didn't get it, I'm like, oh, so the Shadow King is just a big cuddly panda bear now.
No, so I read some comments of some viewers of our episode, and they had a good thought.
Clearly,
that-
these ones had your name in it because you read them.
No.
Alexis, right?
No. Most people think I'm wrong. No kidding. No, but Farouk, they said something about how he said something about like, I want. Will you come back to me when we want destroy the world together or something like that? What did they say? Take on the world.
We'll take over the world.
Rule the world. Yeah.
Okay,
That's what it
well,
was.
that's a very villainous thing to say.
Sure.
So I don't think he's turned a new leaf. I think he's still Farouk. He's just letting David go so that he can eventually come back to him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It seemed like a lot of it was just they could be like, look at our cool visual of like these sunglasses, but like with a projector, and have you like what a creative thing that we did.
I mean, it was pretty cool.
And
the
it was
sunglasses,
really
yeah.
cool, and I was like, okay, I do really like this, but also my problem was timeline wise. It didn't make sense. It's like the same thing with like Harry Potter, where you're like, okay, so wait a minute. So Dumbledore was just like nice wearing a suit and for like years and years, and then out of nowhere was like, I'm old now and I'm crazy and I'm wearing this hat. Like that's what it felt like with Farouk. Like I was like, wait a minute, he's like 2,000 years old and he's like, I've known this kid for 20 years, and you know what? That 20 years has changed me.
Yeah.
I put on these sunnies and now like projector happened, so let's go get some ice cream. Like it was like, what?
speaking of time, in Harry Potter, they have the time turner thing, and then
Yes.
they just don't touch it for the rest of the books.
Well, it's because they can only
Because
use
time
it.
is a very
Yes.
hard thing to put in movies and television shows.
Unless it's there on page 1 to start with. It's when you add time in later, it gets confusing.
Yeah.
Well, and then you get like those weird little the plot hole for me in this episode was, so if the Farouk never spent that time with David, if he leaves him alone, then you don't have older Farouk to come back and say it to nicer Farouk and let
That's
him know
not
everything
the
that
way-
happened.
Timeline.
So it's
The way
just
this
like,
one works is with the splinters of time.
That's
So
not
it's
the way
just
time
different.
flows. It's like Endgame. That
it's okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
It's
like
just this
Steve
is a
Rogers.
whole
Yeah.
new
a
thing. Well,
character can shoot a younger version of themselves and not die.
Well, but that's
Yeah.
the thing, though,
So, yeah.
because it's not like Endgame, because it did rewrite
because
his
it's
whole.
not
Sorry,
it's not 3
It did-
hours
well,
long.
No, but it did rewrite his going back,
Yeah.
changed the
That's
entire
true.
future. It didn't just create a new timeline. It was like, oh, they actually Sid and David disappeared. It rewrote their whole life. It's the
did like
same
a reset.
timeline.
Which, by the way, Sid and David disappearing, half of that I was very excited about. What were you going to say, Jeff?
No, I gotta agree on. No, but visually, one of the most disappointing things for me was Farouk literally said to Professor X, he's like, "You're in a whole room. You can decide what you want it to look like. This is your whole place." And he just gives him a beer or
Yeah.
something. He like makes fun of Xavier about it, and then does nothing with the room. It was just like a waste of a scene in my like. I get the dialogue.
That's
part,
when I connected with
but, like-
Farouk the most.
but,
It's
like,
like,
why
we could
could-
do anything. Let's have
Have
a
a
beer.
But it was just
That's how good
frustrating.
beer is.
It was frustrating because first off, we get no fight, we get a song, and I like musicals, but don't give me a song. I don't want it. I want to see a fight. Don't
Wait,
leave
this is an
me.
important question,
the
Jeff.
finale.
What's your favorite musical? This is really
Grease.
important.
You want to know why?
Because they fight.
Because you're the one that I want?
Facts,
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
facts, and Grease Lightning. Hey.
Yeah.
But no, I was in Grease Lightning 8th grade. Shout out. That's my favorite.
Shout out to yourself
Yeah.
in 8th grade.
Hashtag
Your
plug.
school put on Grease?
It's
Yeah.
his favorite because it's the only
All
one
I'm
he knows.
saying,
middle
That's true.
schooler.
it was my intro to musicals, and we were in 8th grade musical, standing on top of a car, Grease Lightning. That stuff was
Yeah.
lit. Just saying.
So, what do they rewrite the script and it's like, Rizzo has a tummy ache. Anyway.
There was more fighting scenes in Grease than there was in this last episode.
See, that's
Just
true.
saying.
No,
The Grace referred to the chicken that Rizzo ate that made her feel uncomfortable. She wasn't pregnant.
no, that's never the case.
It's a food baby.
In any case, I'm so glad we're staying on
But
topic.
anyway,
but go ahead.
The whole time travel thing to me, I thought was the best part of the episode because I thought that that Switch's storyline was what made the most sense and what was the most complete.
Well,
Switch's
Zia's showing
storyline
Elena her-
was almost the most fascinating.
Yeah.
I say yes, I agree.
It was cool.
I felt so bad for Switch because, as we saw in the second to last episode, David just didn't give a shit about her
No,
at
not at
all.
all.
No.
It was
He's
just like
using her completely.
Professor X asks, "Who is that?" He says, "It doesn't matter, just a time traveler." And he's like, "David, everybody matters. I'm your dad."
And he's
you
like,
idiot."
not that one.
Not that one, though.
Her teeth falling out.
She ain't even got any teeth, so come on.
She just listens to her headphones all the time.
The visuals in this show, I think, are my favorite part of the show,
Agreed.
and in particular, the way they time traveled. That image,
The hallway?
of the hallway, Switch
door.
losing her teeth,
But just like, and then cutting the little, the
Yeah.
little, like, hole,
Door.
yeah, like, and then jumping through it. You think about how much time travel we've seen. Nobody's done that before, where they're cutting a
I
little,
know.
you know.
And the time demons are so crazy scary.
So awesome, right?
Yeah.
Love
Wait,
that.
so you want to hug one, Zia? It seems like you love them.
Yes, I
Yeah.
want to
A
hug
well-trained
them.
one.
Yeah,
Well, they
that
just they
was-
sit.
I want like an
They
opposite
stay.
one that's like, here's more years back. Like, I'm not going to make you like a
younger.
decrepit Carrie. Like, look how
so
good you look.
You want a time demon that can go right behind Jeff and put him right back in Grease Lightning in 8th grade.
Exactly.
I'm looking
Just
forward
so
to
you can
that
hear the
performance.
shout out from older Jeff being like, shout out to younger me. You're good at this.
Younger me's like,
I
thanks, Don.
I mean
Good
this.
looking out.
I mean this, and not just because the show's over and I love the panel and everything, but I do love the show.
But you don't
too.
even know Zia, let's be honest.
No, I was talking about the Legion panel.
Oh, yeah, not her. Okay.
I was gonna say the visuals.
Thanks a lot, Christian, for calling attention to that.
I was gonna say the visuals will stick with me.
Yeah.
For a
No,
long time.
I think when
So-
I think about the show, there's so many things, and some of it that's just so weird. You know, the fact that I know people have told us that like, oh, this is the time period that it was in. I never really got a handle when this happened. You know, because it sort of looked like the 70s. And then when we saw newer technology, they're like, yeah, but that's not part of the linear story. And then that's a perfect example of how the people who were in the chat for the after show clearly watched the show more closely than I did. They're clearly smarter than I was. They understood things better than I did. And that's why I loved interacting with them, even when they said that we were idiots and didn't have an opinion. But I always appreciated
sweet,
that.
though, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's a sweet kind of, you know, it's
That's one
brother
word
sister
for it.
stuff. Yeah.
I thought of something though, since we were talking about the show for the finale, when we were talking about the robots and everything, kind of
Yeah.
talking about the visual too, was they also showed when she thought of herself as a robot with a wind up
Right,
thing,
sure.
like a clock.
Yeah.
So then it was kind of an allusion to her representing time itself.
That's a great
with
point. Yeah.
with like a huge visual clue that I didn't even think about until I went back and rewatched it, and I was like, oh, they literally are like, look, she's time.
This is a show that if we had the time to watch it again, we would probably
Call
be
Switch.
so much. Yeah, we would be. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Switch, can you just give me the time? Can I just sit in the hallway long enough to watch? What is it? 27 episodes. That's all I need.
Yeah.
I just need a little pocket.
Just put a
dimension.
TV in the hallway.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Just show the series. But I think there's some of those visuals, and then now knowing how it ends, I think that you'll see a lot of things like, oh, I guess they knew where they were going, because that's what they say. The people at FX, they're like, yeah, the way that it ended is when he pitched the first episode. This is how he told us. This is what they're saying now. Now, what I said on the Legion After Show, I did not think that was where they were going, and I think that when they started season 3, they're like, this is how it ends. But I don't think season 1, they're like, whatever we do, no one can fight in the series finale.
It's our budget.
Yeah.
So no visual effects.
The only way I believe that is if they didn't know they only had 8 episodes in the last season, because there was no lead up to them both switching.
Yeah.
Maybe one, but then both switching to good, like Farouk and David. There was no lead up, so there's no way they had that plan. It's like, you know what, we're gonna lead up to some bad, and then switch last episode. I don't believe it.
We're all good guys now, and here are some fortune cookie phrases for you too to remember. Be a good person.
And hug everyone.
So, Zia, I think like 10 minutes ago I asked you a question and then I didn't let you answer.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Was there anything in this show in particular that you were like, this is the thing that really didn't work for me. We've talked about a few things that we didn't like, but is there something that really just stands out?
No, I think it was mostly just what we were talking about. That and she brought up too that the switch storyline was almost the most fascinating.
Yeah.
And that's not really what you're hoping for because you were just introduced to her in this last season, and you've had David and Sid and all these other characters for 3 seasons. And so I was hoping for a little bit more of that. I have it down here too that it feels like it was building slowly, like the episode was a slow build and then to nothing.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
And you're like, hey, okay.
The finale is supposed to stick a landing.
Right.
It didn't stick.
Right. And I didn't hate it. It just wasn't wasn't
It wasn't like
everything that I wanted.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't all march in here right afterwards like, I can't believe what I just saw. Well, no, we sort of did say that. We're like, I can't believe what we just saw because it was missing some of the things that we wanted. One of the things that we talked about on the after show that I'd like to get your feedback on, Xia, was the amazing stage makeup that they used on old Carrie to show that she had aged. How impressive did you find that?
Well,
She had wrinkles on her arms. Did you notice?
she did,
Yeah.
yes. And I've seen her in person many times. She's
And
not.
still never gotten her on the show, thanks.
I tried.
Okay,
I
that's
actually
right.
did.
You know what you did.
I did
thank
try.
you. She
No
just doesn't
problem.
want to be here. That's
Yeah.
fine. Just like Xia.
Can't blame her. Yeah, it's you're just like, oh, okay, you're wearing makeup, aren't you?
But it was
Yeah.
like,
It's very,
you're wearing makeup,
it's
aren't you?
Very
Yeah.
apparent. What I did like though that they did with David is because I've never actually seen David as the bad guy at all throughout any of the seasons, especially this one. I've seen him as someone that is in desperate need of love and care and acceptance and wanting, and not that everything that he did was good, but he did bad things, but I don't think it made him a bad person. So I think the way that they tied that up worked really well with his being finally like what Xavier said to him is what he had been looking for the entire time. He became a little boy again. That's what he wanted. It shows with his little harem of girls who call him daddy, which was super weird.
Yeah.
But it's again, all he was looking for was love and acceptance, and it was actually really, really sad. So seeing him get that from his dad, I think was actually nice, and I think that tied up things with David well. It was more the David Farouk, Xavier Farouk, that whole dynamic. I didn't think they handled well.
If you're gonna have a pair of people come together, you gotta have the other pair drift apart. Both of them coming together was a lot, like what you said.
Two evil big bads, and they're both flipping in one episode with no lead up to it. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't fulfill as a viewer. You're like, all right, well, they just wanted a happy ending.
Yeah, I think that logically, young Farouk just being like, okay, you guys are all crazy. I have to get out of here. He's young Farouk, so it would one make sense,
Right?
And everybody else still could have felt the same way. But yeah, it's like, oh, let's get him on board too. You know, I agree. I think that well, it was a little bit disappointing in that way, but. Like we were saying, and we said last week, it wasn't a bad series finale. There was just like I said, one big fight would have
Well, they have that
held
cool
long
visual where he like throws the straitjacket off and it like
really
skitters
like
around
that.
and it's Farouk and
Yeah.
it looks like, oh man, okay, now it's gonna start. And it's like they hype it up like it's gonna be Disneyland fireworks. Then it's like you get Crazy Bill's discount pack and you're like, oh, I guess it's done now. Cool.
There's one news item that ties into Legion before we kind of take a couple minutes and look back on the series as a whole. Jeff Loeb, who, as most people know, is the head of Marvel TV, he said that he's very hopeful that at some point, a few years down the line, Noah Hawley will find a new story worth telling of Legion, because if you know his show Fargo, there'll be a few years between seasons, and this ended in a seemingly a way that has finality, but you could definitely tell more seasons. I personally don't imagine Noah Hawley telling more seasons of Legion, but they could certainly bring the show back and, you know, have it start at a different point. I mean, I don't need him to be a baby again. let's have him be an adult. But
really, you don't want to just see a child growing up for have it in real time.
If he's going to be used, actually, I wanted to take 32 years.
Every
Can we
year.
get that? No, I mean, if it's going to be a baby using his powers to I don't know, convince people, I want to have candy for breakfast, and then there you go. So that could be. Well, it wouldn't be that entertaining, would it? But
It's just showing
It'd
an
be funny for
unhealthy
one
baby.
scene.
I like that one scene, but that scene would be so good. But personally, I think that look, it's just one of those things that they say, and they're like, we don't want to close the door. But because this came up this week, I thought it was worth talking about. They have a good collaboration with FX is really what Jeff Loeb also said. So they could see, I think that just means you'll see this character again. But does anybody here think that there will be another season or even a new iteration of the series? I'm talking years from now.
Here's what I would like to happen.
Yes.
I would like Harry Lloyd
Yes.
as Charles Xavier, because I liked him. I know you were like, meh. I liked it.
I
would
wasn't
to
like me.
Oh, I thought somebody was about him.
No, I liked him.
I really
Okay.
liked him.
I just
thought it
wanted
was
him to
great.
shave his head for the part. If you're
thought it was
gonna
great.
play Professor Xavier, you got to shave your head.
Right.
Even
so
James
I'm thinking,
McAvoy did it.
I'm thinking maybe either a movie or a TV show following Xavier deciding to start Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, like the original X-Men. Get Jean Grey in there, reboot her one more time.
Yeah.
Please give her a good story, man.
Because
Please.
we've gotten her right every time
Every
thus
time.
They've just
far.
always nailed it. Yeah.
Cyclops. I mean, the originals.
Yeah,
and the
well,
start of it all.
and of course, Omega Level Mutant Iceman needs to be on that show. But also, I've always said that they have never done Angel in a way that I feel like they've done a good job. So I would love to see that.
So having him start out the school, and then even bringing David back
Yeah.
as a villain again. And
I think introducing David down the road, and I think we'll see him in a movie at some point, but
Yeah.
I think it might not be for a little while. But we were trading emails earlier today, sort of about this, and I would imagine that we wouldn't see Dan Stevens play David again, but if we do, that's great. So there's sort of a two-part question. The first, we'll sort of go around and see what everybody thinks. If he played someone else in the MCU, and that basically encompasses everything now because they have the X-Men characters, is there someone that comes to mind that you think you'd like to see him play? I said this on Marvel Movie News. I'd like to see him as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. I think, because at one point, believe it or not, Reed Richards was young. He didn't always have the white streaks on the side. So I'd like to start out. It's not have him be old right away. It's like how Spider-Man seems to always graduate from high school in his second movie. But is there anything that comes to mind for you, Alexa? I'll ask you first.
I think he would be a great Nightcrawler, actually.
Oh my God, he would.
He would be a great Nightcrawler. But if not Nightcrawler, he kind of has an edge to him, so I also could see him as Gambit.
I was just going to ask you what about Gambit. Look at that. Yeah, I think that would work. Look, as great as Channing Tatum Gambit would have been.
No.
And as amazing as Taylor Kitsch was as Gambit in X-Men Origins Wolverine, I think...
But we already know that he can do magic as Mike, so come on, man.
But I think it would be great to see you don't just have a look for Gambit. There's a very specific kind of presence that you need to have. Jeff, is there something that comes to mind for you for Dan Stevens?
For him, I have to say Doctor Strange. I feel like he's still in that.
So you're kicking Benedict Cumberbatch out of the role?
Nah, if we have to reboot.
Yeah.
Because I like that.
Well, at some point, Benedict Cumberbatch is going to ask for too much money.
Very true.
Yeah.
But if we were rebooting, if I was just casting him, I would go with Doctor Strange. I feel like he still plays the not creepy, but mysterious role kind of well. He's still dealing with magic, and I like how he's doing that in this series. So I think that would play very well with his role now.
Dan Stevens is also British. His American accent is way better than Benedict Cumberbatch's. Would you have him be Doctor Strange? British accent, American accent?
Probably just American for
Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
You know, if in the next movie Benedict Cumberbatch just has his British accent, I think we'll all be fine. It's like how
It's fine. Like
it's like how
Scarlett
Scarlet Witch.
Johansson.
Well, Scarlet Witch lost her terrible
Yeah,
accent,
and then it
That
came
was cool.
back
Well, yeah, but
for
now
the
she
last
she
line.
doesn't have it.
But I like that Scarlett Johansson, they were just like, aren't you Russian? She's like, I used to be. Explained away accent, one line, done.
Zia, what would you like to see? Who would you like to see? Dan Stevens.
There was someone that we were talking about in Marvel Movie News, and I can't remember now, but I was like, oh, I want to see him as this person so badly, and I cannot remember. So I'm going to say Angel, because we've never really gotten a very good iteration
I think
of him.
he'd be a great Angel.
Yeah.
And Elena, do you have any thoughts on who you'd like to see him play?
Honestly, I just want to see Aubrey Plaza play Danger.
Wow.
Because I want to see, like, freaking Danger. Like, one, we don't have, like, any adaptations, and we haven't really seen AI done really well, and I feel like Aubrey Plaza would do a really great job doing the adaptation of, like, Danger Room becoming a physical incarnation. Right. And I feel like if they played with that storyline, I mean, that's not what you asked, but that's my answer.
It's like, I don't care what you asked. I've got a better question that I'm going to answer. And yeah.
And I'm saying snaps for Aubrey Plaza. And you died before I thought you would.
Yeah, I just like a conversation in the finale I thought we would get. You know, like somewhere
like
in the corner of David's mind, she's like, oh, hey, I'm dead now, but, you know.
But, like,
no,
be cool to your dad.
That sounds like her.
Yeah.
And we'd like to see
and it just dances away.
Yeah. And we'd like to see Alexa Cappielo as Rogue. What? Anyway, go on.
That'd be great. I think...
just tweet that out, because we know that works.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah, the guy who's Shang-Chi.
I have tweeted many a thing, and I will go ahead and say I've never been Shang-Chi'd, so...
Shang-Chi.
Yet.
I know.
Yet.
I know a 6'4", tall, dark male that would love to play Miles Morales. I'm not gonna say any names, but like he played in Greece in 8th grade. So, like, he has
creds. He does
were you
have
Danny
creds.
Zuko, or who were you in Greece?
No,
This is
Sonny Latieri. So I
I
was
don't
one.
even know who that is. So.
Let's just say
one of
I was one of the
one of the
main
guys.
characters, but I didn't have my solo song.
One of the T-Birds.
Oh, yeah.
And it was because your
I was a
boy's
bad-
not a singer.
I was a bad singer.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was still main character,
Yeah, yeah.
so we still out here.
Yeah.
Is
no.
it personal resentment why you don't like the music in Legion? Is it just because you were like, I had my song in 8th grade cut in Greece, so you know what? F you, Legion. I hate your rap battles.
song.
Get out of here, Wolf. Go howl at nothing.
We are almost out of time, but I wanted to know from everybody here on this all-star panel that we have assembled here today, what is if there's one defining scene or moment, or it can just be a general feeling when you think back on Legion. Alexa, you already said the visuals, and I agree with that. But is there one thing, it could be from this season, could be from any point in the series, that when you think about the show, you're like, oh, this one thing I couldn't believe that I saw? I'll ask you first, Elena.
Honestly, the pilot I thought was one of the best pilots I've ever seen on television, period. And just the montage, the opening up of David growing older, that then they kind of harken back and bookend with the finale.
I thought that was a nice touch,
Yeah, I liked that with the same song and everything. But the visuals of that and just kind of kicking it off, where it's like, this show is going to circumvent every trope and every expectation that you have for what a superhero show should be from within the first 2 minutes. Without any dialogue, you can tell this is going to be something entirely different. I thought was just one of the best ways to kick off any show.
And it did do that. Even though it didn't stick the landing, it still was exactly what you talked about. It wasn't like any superhero show that we've ever seen.
It kind of fell on his face and
But it's like that gif of the gymnast who falls on her face and then points that toe.
Yeah.
It pointed the toe.
Yeah, it did.
Zia, for you, obviously, when you think of Legion, you're going to be so glad that you did the Legion after show, because you never would have met me. But your second thought about the show, that's number one. But for you, what would the second thought be when you think of the series?
Who would I make chip jokes to? I mean, obviously. Wait.
Go ahead.
Out. It was that episode where Farouk and David have that battle, and it shows up in those amazing colors. Just visually, it was so stunning. That episode for me, I was like, oh my god. I mean, I love the show right from the beginning of it. It's so different. It's not because I understand, Alexa, you can get superhero fatigue a little bit. I love all the movies. I've seen them all more than once.
Show people will hate
I know, they get so angry. I've seen them all
People
more
are going
than
to
once.
stop buying your DVDs if you say stuff like that. No, they're never going to stop buying your DVDs.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Mike, thank you. This is awesome. Anyway,
Mike, there's 5 of us here. That's all I'm going to say.
What about me?
Yeah, look at our X-Men shirt.
What the hell,
don't buy
Mike?
anything for Christian.
I don't.
Everyone else is cool, not Christian.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, you can get kind of superhero fatigue, but with this show, it's something completely different. It doesn't feel like and I mean, honestly, Marvel has made some really bad TV. And this was very nice and very refreshing to watch something that was very cerebral, something that kind of got you thinking, something where you're like, this is so weird, I love it. So that was it. For me.
Alexa, so we talked about the visuals, but is there any other final thought?
Yeah,
when
the mental illness. They delved right into it, and they were not afraid to talk about it, and that was awesome. I wanted them to go further with that.
I expected to see a little more with it in the series finale. I know that Gabrielle addressed it, so it wasn't completely dismissed, but I agree. I thought, they really dealt with it, and I always thought it was an interesting... the idea that's like, oh, you're in this institution, you're on medication, and that's why your powers aren't manifesting themselves. But you are also crazy.
Yep.
And I thought that I just thought it was an interesting way to tell the story. And finally, Jeff.
So mine would be just Aubrey Plaza as a whole, her whole story arc, going from or just a range, because like you see her in the mental institute, and you see her kind of running the show in David's daddy cave, or whatever you want to call it.
She was the mommy.
She was a mommy in there, and then you even get to see her like be a mom and have a relationship. So you get to see all her range. I loved her throughout the show. Like that was my favorite part. It lit up when I was seeing her, but just like. Probably, I don't know which episode it was, but it was in this 3rd season when we saw Switch and her interact. I love both of those characters. So that would probably be my highlight, because it was visually cool and the characters were very intriguing and interesting and something to look forward to.
It was cool that she was... I mean, she played a dude. I mean, she I mean, she was female, obviously, but the character was originally written to be a guy, and she just was like, no.
We should all get chicken and waffles in tribute to the Breakfast Queen.
She was the Breakfast Queen.
We're not going to, make this a feminine thing. We're going to keep on going with the way it's written, and we're going to make it its own thing, which was cool.
For me, I will always think back on the episode last season where it was the episode with all the Davids, but there was also the singing mouse, and I was just like, oh, that is so weird. That has no place in this episode, but it's so great. Our friend Amy loved that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are out of time. I felt like we got to like half of what I wanted to talk about, but we had so much fun doing it. And thank you to everyone who was in the chat. And thank you to the Legion panel for getting back together. It had been 6 whole days. We really missed each other. But let's go around and everybody say where you can be found online. David's Angels. Yes. Jeff first.
At David's Angels. No, I was kidding. You can find me at JeffWill_Jr. on all your social media platforms.
And Happy Cappy, where do people find you?
You can find me, Alexa Cappielo, at Alexa Cappy, Cappy on Instagram.
And Elena, where do people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at Alana J. Jordan.
Zia.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Xia_Land. That's XIA_Land.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And you can find Zia and myself Thursdays over on the Popcorn Talk Network at 1 Pacific for Marvel movie news. And we will be back here next Sunday night because we'll be wrapping up all of the news out of D23, which I can't even guess what it is. But Elena has been kind enough to say she'll be here next week. So we will break it all down. And we will see you all then. Thanks so much, everybody. Until next week, Excelsior.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.